Good morning, good morning, good morning again, folks. Welcome to another episode of Spilling Tea. I'm your host, Tiffany Daniels, and we're going to that horrible world known as the JRC. But before we do, the usual disclaimers and a little bit of an apology. So in my last vid, I went on a little bit of a rant. It's a particular subject that I find extremely sensitive. So I do apologize for going off as long as I did. Doesn't make anything that I said untrue. And I do think more of us need to comment on just how we're treated within the medical model, even when it's not with the insanity of the JRC. It is very true, folks, that particularly in my autistic community, that there is an actual term. When people are around 38 to 40, we call ourselves ancient autistics. The reason why that term came about is that so many of us get burnt out so young, which causes a myriad of health issues. Many of us don't see 40. That's why it's a particularly sensitive subject. All right, but back to what we're doing, huh? All right. Disclaimers. Let's hope I can brain a little bit better. In the description box, folks, you're going to find a link to the article that the Judge Rotenberg Educational Center doesn't want you to read. It is written by NeuroClastic, a small non-for-profit started by autistics for autistics, wherein they interviewed and surveyed over 900 ABA professionals in regards to the JRC's quote-unquote behavior modification program. Matter of fact, the JRC doesn't want you to read this article so much, they have threatened NeuroClastic with a defamation lawsuit if they do not remove it from the website. NeuroClastic has refused, so you know the drill. Please read that article and share on all your social media. We also have linked in there NeuroClastic's public statement regards to the defamation lawsuit threat, as well as a link to their GoFundMe. We are still crowdfunding in case the JRC has the balls to see through with their threat. We got the pertinent links to the Agape boarding school situation as well. Agape boarding school is a Christian-themed boarding school based out of Stockton, Missouri that takes in so-called troubled male teens that has and pending over 21 civil lawsuits, claims, and allegations leveled against it, all which have been corroborated by the hard evidence found done by the investigation of Missouri Department of Social Services that include the following: sodomy, rape, sexual assault, physical child abuse, psychological and emotional abuse, child trafficking, starvation, and that's just for starters. You got one former staff member arrested by the FBI, another a doctor still on the premises with full access to the boys up on multiple substantiated claims, again with hard evidence, of sodomy, rape, and sexual assault of the boys there. You have an attorney general too busy engaging in frivolous lawsuits that he loses one right after the other to do his job and actually protect the Missouri kids. And you've got a governor who's hyped up on a power trip from hell, who is hell-bent on turning this into a fucking GOP hellscape. Send help. Send help. So please, folks, share all those links on all your social media. Don't forget to share and sign the change.org Shut Agape Boarding School Down petition. We got the pertinent links to the Stop the Shocks campaign as well, including Autistic Hoya's massive archive on the subject, the templates, and the ever-present self-explanatory change.org Shut the Judge Rotenberg Center Down petition. We also have the behavioral sheet, Jennifer Masumba's behavioral sheet of shockable offenses, and a clip out of the 7-hour ordeal undergone by Andre McCollins back in 2002. When we discuss the JRC, folks, you're going to hear vivid descriptions of and catch clips of surveillance footage of people with disabilities being tortured and abused. If you got young children present, please use your headphones. This channel is marked not for children for a reason. We use profanity and speak on dark subjects. If your child is 16 and younger, parental supervision is advised. Alright, folks, trigger warning. We are about to once again descend into the mad ravings of the lunatic mind known as Dr. Matthew Israel. You're going to hear victim blaming, abuse apologencia, gaslighting, blaming us advocates, it's all our fault. Spare me. And just out and out repeated lies. You're going to hear dangerous pseudoscience. And just, know that's coming, all right? Okay, so where we left off last video, expulsion. Funny you bring this up, because before we get into it, Dr. Matthew Israel uses this a lot as a way to allude to why his center is so great. But here's the kicker. If even their shock device doesn't work, you want to know what they do to those students? Expel them. In fact, when parents refuse to comply, and when parents want to yank their kids the fuck away, they will threaten them with expulsion. A lot of these parents are from poor income households in poor communities who literally have, nothing. No other options. And then they are gaslit in believing that their kids aren't being tortured. You can see the vicious cycle here, right? Okay, so now that I've exposed his little lie there, let's get into it, shall we? When programs that use positive-only treatment procedures encounter a student with really severe behavior or problem behaviors that do not respond to their procedures, they simply expel the student and attempt to hand the child back to the parents. Lie. It's a lie. But they have been expelled from schools and other places and sent to hospitals. Were they sent to another disability school? Chances are they weren't. Let's talk about what he's referring to as positive only. It's ABA, folks. And coming from somebody who's worked in the field, I can fucking tell you up front, if you think ABA is positive only, you're outside your fucking gourd. Okay? Just because they don't use the same type as aversives as the JRC does not mean they do not use them. They do, in fact, indeed use aversives, including ignoring the child when they are screaming for hours on end in horrific pain. And they will tell the parent to ignore the kid until they act with normal behavior and use their words. I know this because they did it to Linda Cornelison, JRC. We'll get to that here in a minute. My point is, he is again alluding that positive behavioral reinforcement expels kids. It's a lie. Or they will refuse to accept students. That's also a lie. And why do I know it a lie? Is because both Andre McCollins and Jennifer Masamba were accepted into positive behavior reinforcement programs after they left the JRC. Funny, isn't it? Evidence of this is little known, but critically important fact is found in a paper recently published in the Journal of Behavior Analysis of Offender and Victim Treatment and Prevention by Israel et al. Oh, fuck. First off, he's going to use the term little known. Means it's bullshit, folks. Then he's going to quote a paper as evidence written by himself. It is not written by another unaffiliated school or doctorate program or research. No. He's citing as evidence his own goddamn paper. That's not evidence, doctor. That's showing bias toward your own psychotic fucking program. Funny, isn't it? But it's little known, but there is evidence to do that. Read my paper. Is that paper peer-reviewed, doctor? And no, I'm not talking about with physicians in your own school. I'm talking about, is it peer-reviewed by other unaffiliated doctors and other professionals? No, it's not. But let's move on, shall we? This paper, describes 7 case studies of students who were expelled from positive-only programs because their behavior problems were too severe to be treatable by positive-only programming, or who eventually were referred to the JRC. Again, your paper, doctor. Your paper. These are going to be your biased, unfounded opinions. It's once again, folks, another episode of Just Trust Me, Brah. Right? I'm supposed to trust a doctor who has admitted in the past that he doesn't even know what positive behavior reinforcement is, let alone how it's utilized. Again, I refer you to the fact that what he's talking about is not positive behavioral reinforcement. It is classic ABA therapy, which has its own built-in adversives into the program. Therefore, it is not only positive. It means it's a lie, doctor. And it means that you could not find any other paper from any other doctor or scientist to back it up. So you are using your own paper that you wrote to back your bias and your insanity. It's kind of like it on Twitter when nobody else will like your post, so you'll like your own post. Yeah. Saying. In one case, a well-known program that used positive-only procedures expelled a student and stated in the discharge summary that the program's positive procedures had not been effective and that the student needed aversives. It's the name of the school, doctor. If it's well-known, why don't you tell us what it is? He likes to allude to these things. He used vague-ass terms. He never identifies anyone or any location of a specific school. Once again, I call bullshit. You gotta take that with a grain of salt. And again, he uses as reference and evidence his own fucking paper, which is not peer-reviewed by anyone outside his scope of psycho. Okay? Sometimes the parents may not be able to allow the child back into the home because of the danger of violence of his or his siblings or parents. In that case, the only alternative is jail or the institution or living on the streets. Lie, 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 lie. Lies everywhere. Just everywhere. And again, what are we used to reference this? The paper he wrote. Seriously? See, evidence, doctor, is something that is done not from the person who's being accused. Are you on crack? That'd be like a murderer saying, yes, I'd like to call a witness to the dangers to explain that I was not the person who murdered this person. Yeah, hello, I'm myself. Right? I didn't actually murder this person. You should believe me. Because I'm testifying. It's coming from me. Doesn't work, does it? No, of course not. Not to anybody who has 2 brain cells to rub together. And again, he likes to allude, it's either jail or hospital institutionalization. Blah, I can't brain today. Lie and lie. It's all this doctor seems to know how to do. He's alluding to these programs and using similar words so that you will actually be thinking it's one thing, it's actually not. None of these places he's referring to are actually using positive behavior reinforcement. What he considers as positive-only programs are programs that don't torture and starve the students. ABA has their own list of adversives. Slightly more humane than the shit he gets up to, but aversives nonetheless. And they don't work either. Because when you're only focusing on the behaviors, when you're not building on the strengths, when you're not allowing a person to be their authentic autistic selves, all you're doing is teaching us to the mask. And guess what? Some of us, that doesn't work on. Some of us are fed up. Some of us don't want to pretend to be someone else. Okay? It's really that simple. When he says they tried everything and they had these positive only programs, no, they didn't. You want to know the reality? The majority of these students come from poor communities. The only kind of treatment programs they can get up to before this place comes in to act like, fucking white savior complex. Well, they look like they are and then torture the kids. They have access to ABA through the school system. That's all they got. These poor communities are absolutely not having the same options that I can go out there, my white ass can go out there and grab. Okay? They have the schools. That's pretty much it. And then Dr. Matthew Israel will swoop in and sell them a fantasy. Most people are going to jump at it. Because what other options do they have? The truth is there are no other programs out there in these communities. Person-centered planning, positive behavioral reinforcement. You're talking about individuals who are making it paycheck to paycheck. They don't have the funds to be going and sending these kids to these other programs. The few who do manage to get into such programs are extremely lucky. And it's usually when they are in adulthood and finally have access to Medicaid that they are actually able to go out into those programs. Everything he said here is a lie. And I do mean everything he said here. Okay, just in case anyone's wondering. Many of these individuals can barely afford to get these kids to a doctor to get a diagnosis. Okay? Let's look at facts, shall we? All right, let's kind of wrap it up here, okay? This doctor wants you to believe he never expels kids. It's a lie. He actually does, and has stated so earlier within this exact document, I might add. This doctor wants you to believe he has evidence to prove that these positive programs don't work. And he's going to cite his own paper that he wrote, which is not peer-reviewed by anyone outside of the JRC, as evidence to this fact. He's going to illuminate to a program that is famous for being positive only, without naming the school. He's going to use familiar sounding terms so that you will connect it with a program that he actually knows nothing about. He used positive only because he wants you to connect that with positive behavioral reinforcement. It's not what they're doing. He's not going to tell you that the only other access to programs that many of these kids from the poor neighborhoods, particularly kids who are of color with disabilities, are ABA programs through the schools with overworked, underfunded, and overpopulated special ed classrooms and their overworked teachers who are not paid near enough, in my opinion. Nor is there nearly enough of them. Okay? Public schools and their special ed programs are not really built for those who need a little bit more intensive of a program. They don't have the time, the money, the manpower, or the resources. That's just a fact. That is an absolute fact. This is not the Positive Behavior Reinforcement Program, it is ABA. And by positive, he means that they are not shocking the students, starving them, sleep depriving them. And yes, problem kids get expelled from public schools whether they have disabilities or not. But he's not going to tell you that, is he? He's not going to go in more and tell you what exactly the so-called positive-only treatment program the school is using. You want to know why? Because he doesn't fucking know what he's talking about. And it blows my mind. But the evidence is in this paper here by Dr. Matthew Israel. Do you not see the conflict of interest here, Doctor? I'm going to close out on that. We don't get very many views on this channel. The few that we do tend to get removed from time to time. So folks, please don't forget to hit the like button, hit subscribe, and don't forget to hit the comments. I do appreciate your time. And as always, we here at Spilling Tea do hope you have a good one. Bye-bye, everyone.